The goal of this show is to help you break in and thrive in advertising. And we do that every single week by sharing the stories and advice of those rocking it on the other side. On our LinkedIn, we post advertising news you need to know in 60 seconds or less every single day. Follow us there for ad news unlike anything else you've ever seen before. Today, Gabriel Schmitt joins us in our office to talk about his career. Gabriel is the global CCO, that's Chief Creative Officer of Gray. And we kind of shake things up this episode. We have a couple different segments, hence the paper right here. But we do a little bit of an agency rapid fire. We talk about how he broke in and a couple fun segments here. We brought up what was the most important work of his career that really skyrocketed it early on. So we'll talk about that. And he'll talk about his superpower and his Mount Rushmore of agency professionals he would love to work with. A lot of lessons to unpack here. Global CCO, ladies and gentlemen, Gabriel Schmitt. Now on with the show. This is the Breaking and Entering Advertising Podcast. And as usual, I'm your accomplice, Gino Schellenberger. Kick it, Mikey. Gabriel Schmitt, welcome to the Breaking and Entering Advertising Podcast. How the heck are you doing today, sir?
Dude, I'm finally here.
You made it.
Oh my God, I made it.
Yeah, man.
Broke and entered.
You broke in. I'm pumped for you. You just crushed Cannes, right? Like you had a busy Cannes season. What were you up to there?
Well, yeah, Gray had a pretty special week. We've done pretty well, I think, and we're getting to the rhythm and the mindset that I set up to get to when I started a couple of years ago as well as CEO there. It was really cool to see several different offices from all areas in the world being on stage and being big. I think it was really special. And you know, when you're running a global company, you want to make sure the company is truly global. And I think this week we proved Gray is global again.
There we go.
That's pretty cool.
How long have you been the CCO there?
2 years.
2 years. Okay. Now you're starting to get in your rhythm there. You got your people in place. You got your clients established. You're feeling good. You're also the jury president for, what was it? Creative Commerce this year.
Correct.
At Cannes. What was that like being the jury president?
It was my first time as a president in Cannes, and it's a whole other level of responsibility and commitments and stuff, and talks and interviews.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah. So do you have to select the full jury from there? Or do they?
No. Presidents do not select the jury.
Okay.
They're handed to us. But you, as president, you need to manage, the conversation, make sure the curation of the body of work is at the highest possible standards, and make sure that the body of work that ends up being celebrated there is a fair reflection of the conversations that the jury had. In the end of the day, is the work of the jury, is not the work of the president. The president is there to make sure that everything is.
So scenario. People are, off track. They're talking left and right. There's not alignment in the group right now during these deliberations. What sayings do you put out there to get everybody back on track? What did you find yourself repeating?
I think, well, before even getting into the discussion, a month before Cannes, I took some measures to make sure that those types of stuff wouldn't happen. So, for example, I wrote a super short cheat sheet of creative commerce and what the definition of creative commerce is, what me as a president was going to be looking for and hoping to see in the body of work that we curate there.
Some guidelines.
Yeah.
Like guidelines. This is what I expect. Yeah. This is like some of the boundaries here.
Because we start seeing work earlier, right? Online, when I start creating the long list and even before the short list. So as people were looking at the work, they couldn't go back to the cheat sheet and kind of everybody get used to at least being the same wavelength.
Yeah.
So that then we can have the deep discussions. But when those types of discussions happen, I think it depends on what's being discussed. But the first thing is, let's make sure we're discussing an idea that deserves to be in this category, as in, is this truly creative commerce?
Yeah, right from the get-go. Let's define the category. Does the work even fit in here before we go left?
Not even the work is good or not. Is it creative commerce? Okay, cool. Now, is it worth the conversation at whatever point in time we are during the week of deliberations? And that if it is, and people are debating, okay, you will debate, and I just make sure that everybody has a voice and everybody, it is making their points. But at the same time, doing it in a way where there's space, right? Because if you discuss every single little thing, you don't leave a color. So, I think it's a little bit of a push and pull, but it's fun.
But those expectations early on probably is a good indicator of how you lead gray. And like expectations, like for the agency on your day-to-day job as CCO, you're probably putting out like to all your creatives, this is what we expect. Is that true? Or is that just my assumption?
No, that's very true. I don't know how anybody else does it, but I like to be, for a creative, I'm pretty process oriented. I believe in processes because I think the more we understand what the sandbox is, the more fun it can have within that. So yeah, it's not that we have 57 guidelines on how to do stuff, but we have some basic things that everybody around the world is very clear on, and everybody's marching towards the same place. Things like what type of first, what our values are, and level of ethic we have, which is the highest. Then what are we doing here as a company, right? Gray has, in my opinion, the clearest North Star in the industry, which is famously effective, right? I feel like our industry in our best days is a famously effective industry, which I translate as very simply using strategic rigor and amazing creative work that bring business results. That's it. And through those lenses, making sure that the types of relationships we're fostering with clients lead us to the most truthful business conversation, so that we can get to solution oriented ideas. That's pretty much it.
And those are good though. Famously effective. I like that.
Yeah.
And we have some sandboxes here on this show that we will now get into our agency rapid fire segment here. So I'm going to say some questions. You're going to respond to them pretty quick. Okay. How you feeling about that?
Great.
All right, let's do this. In a sentence or two, how do you explain what your agency Gray does best?
We bring the best creative solutions for the juiciest business problems.
Okay. I like that. Are you independent or part of a holding company? And how does it shape how you work?
We're part of WPP, the most creative holding company of the year, again, for the God knows how many times, 2, 3, 4 times, I don't know. That shapes the way we behave, yes, because we're part of something bigger than we are. And with that comes a lot of good stuff. We have all sorts of tools and people and processes that we can tap into. We have help, a lot of help. And I think being part of something bigger than yourself can really help you, get really muscles that you wouldn't have if you're independent. So that's interesting.
Who are some of the clients your agency works with?
All sorts of clients. So Gray has been around for 109 years now. We've been working with P&G, for example, for many decades. We also have Volvo globally. We have Coca-Cola, here in the US. We have the likes of Applebee's, the social account for Las Vegas, so forth and so on, and all sorts of different ones.
All over. Love that. And where is your agency headquartered? And do you have other offices or hubs around the world?
We do. We are headquarters in New York, the World Trade Center. We have 22, 23 studios around the world, covering every region. So I like to say we're the smallest of the big ones. If you compare us to some other, some of the only ones that deliver by themselves, they're much bigger than we are. I like being smaller, and mightier. Still, we cover the whole world, but I know everybody's names.
That's great. That's great. And what is your agency building toward or most focused on right now?
Well, let me start with what I think people at the agency should be focused on. At the highest level, what we're doing at Gray is creating a legacy that will outlast all of us. one day, well, we're going to be gone doing something else, working in other places or whatever. I want to make sure that everybody who's who's with us now, who's coming after us, understands the psychographics of the people that we want at Gray, understands the creative bar that we have there and the level of, service for our clients and for the industry that we have. That's where I start. And, by having those types of conversations with people, we guarantee the future of the company is safe, right?
Do you have any internship programs or special opportunities for emerging talent, right?
Of course we do. Yeah, we do. We have the usual suspects of internships, summer internships, that happen in the US and in a few other places around the world. We also have something that I'm very proud of. I can take absolute no credit on it. But we have this program called Gray Rising that was created by Hope Nardini. She's our global ECD for TCCC, which is the Coca-Cola company. So all the programs that we create, where we foster, the careers of up and coming female creative leads. So up to, starting at a level seniority, there's a yearly cohort of female creative leads that gather with the program ran by Hope and a few other people, in the network. And the first cohort just ended last week, I think.
Nice. How did it go?
It's amazing. So I am there, supporting them, but I don't participate, actively because it's about what Hope is running. But I see all the comments, and I talk to a few of the people who were in the cohort, and they love it because, you are stronger together. And fostering that camaraderie within those leaders it's amazing. It's good for sure.
I love it. Thank you for sharing. So now I want to know, the name of the show is Breaking and Entering.
I know.
How did you break into this business? At what point did a young Gabriel say, I want to make ads for a living? I know you grew up in Brazil, which is one of the strongest cultures for creative advertising.
Yeah.
Did that have some effect on it? Give me the rundown of how you broke into this business.
Okay. I am from Brazil, but I lived abroad in a few different countries throughout my life. So I lived in Colombia for 4 years when I was like a baby and a small child. And I was in Argentina for a couple of years when I was my early teenage years. And then I moved to the US when I was 27, kind of out of nowhere. But I think that's important because as much as my, upbringing and my identity is Brazilian, I think it's also informed by other cultures and other countries, and always kind on the verge of moving and not being always in the same place, which I think is a trait that is interesting and probably common in creatives, right? And we're never stuck. You want to move things around. My father used to work on marketing on client side, and when I was a teenager, I don't remember how old it was, but as a client, he approved the campaign that won a bronze one.
Oh, nice.
And I saw the agency sent him the lion, and I would see all the flowers arriving kind of, every day during the week. I was like, this is cool.
What was the brand? What was the agency?
What's going on here? It was for Superpower. It was, I forgot the agency. But anyway, so it was for Superpower in 1999, 2000. You guys were not even born yet.
I was around. It was 3 years.
It was a while ago. And I was like, this is fun. So this is one end of it. The other end of it is I always loved to write, as a kid and as a teenager. And I realized I could write pretty easily, it's not, it's good or not, but I had fun writing essays in kind of long form. So I merged that with the idea of this whole industry thing that keeps sending flowers to our place feels fun. And I tried my hand at it. And, I started pretty early. I think my first gig as an intern I was maybe 18 or 19 years old. So very early in college, I started working on advertising. I wanted to just jump in as quick as possible. I started trying it. In Brazil at that point, it was, I think that's still truth, but it was very hard to get an internship because for some reason, my generation, there's a lot of us that wanted to break into advertising as creatives. And there's not a lot of agencies, right? Whereas there's a big market, but São Paulo, where most of the good agencies are, I would say there was probably 15, 20 agencies, which means one team of interns a year. That means 30 slots a year, give or take, with, I don't know, 10,000 people trying. So it was very tough from the get-go, which I think informs why there's so many of us out there doing some cool shit nowadays. It's been hard from the get.
And so you got this first internship. You go to college. What do you study? Is it English?
No, I did. So I did communications. It's a little bit different in Brazil. You don't have it's kind of the same way you did here in the US. But anyway, I majored in communications. I also studied a little bit of journalism in parallel, but then I gave up journalism.
It helps with the PR angle.
It does.
What's new, right?
Yeah.
It's not bad.
Yeah. So it was communication, but also advertising, and we've done all the back end of like anthropology, sociology, philosophy. And it was amazing because it was this small college in São Paulo where a lot of us nowadays come from. Everybody not everybody came from the same place, but a lot of us were there kind of at the same time and starting, trying to get into the creative world. And, again, I think the competition, even seeing some people that, my friends until today, and they're all there in the industry doing some cool shit, but growing with them and seeing them getting the interns that I wanted, that I couldn't get, or doing some ads that are like, oh, fuck, this is amazing. I wish I had done that from like college days. I think it helped, foster a healthy.
Yeah, that cohort. I'm so curious to see my cohort who's going to be CCOs and covering them their entire careers. I'm excited for them to start popping up. But I don't think there's any 27-year-old CCOs out just yet, but I'm pumped for them. So you had a really strong cohort. Did you have to go to portfolio school, or were you able to break in internship from college with the communications students?
So what I did, when I started, I don't think Miami Ed School was already happening. I think it started a little bit after I left college. And, what I did was the following. There was a agency in the college advertising agency, and they would do those processes for you up to do some ads and whatever to be able to be accepted. I tried my hand again earlier than I was supposed to for no good reason, and I got in. So I started at the college advertising agency on my first year. I think I was freshman. I think
nice.
That means I was 18. And then I worked there for, I don't know, a few months, 9 months, 7 months, something like that. And then I started trying my hand at internships. The very first internship I got was at Euro, which was nowadays is Havas. Yeah. Back in the day it was Euro.
Euro RS.
RSCG.
Yeah.
And fun story. I had a buddy in my class. Because in Brazil, you don't collapse the classes, like the start of a group, and pretty much the group goes together until the end of it. So I don't really contribute. But anyway, there was this guy who I wasn't too friendly with, but I wanted to be a writer. He wanted to be an art director. So we kind of had to become friends and try to do our first books together. And so after class, we would go to his parents would live kind of close to college. So we go to his parents' house and find some ideas and, come up with stuff together. I did this book together, and then we got this internship.
Nice.
Together at Bureau. And this guy is nowadays Brainy Articio. So Chris. Yeah.
Look at that. You never know, right? Like, it's a small industry. People say it all the time. And that's just like the fact that you guys were paired up. Now you're working together again. You might have been, you said that you weren't too friendly with them.
No, I mean, that we became our best friend. Yes. We've been best friends for 10 years. So this is the third time we're working together, actually. We were together in Chicago as well at FCB.
Yeah.
It's 7 years ago.
Yeah.
No.
So lessons there. Get involved early. The earlier, the better. If you know, like, you want to break into advertising, find a creative partner and work on spec work through as much as you can. There's shots on goal, build a portfolio, and know your role. So you always knew you want to be copywriter. You found your art director counterpart, and you two worked hard together.
Yeah, I think I was lucky because I was always sure of what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
I don't think that's not necessary for you to be successful. I mean, you can try your hand and, try different stuff. And mind you, this is 20, over 20 years ago. So
Yeah.
obviously the world changed a lot. And I think if I give one tip on whether building your portfolio from the get-go is not to be monotone. So, and nowadays obviously with creators and the way in which you're consuming media, if you can show in a portfolio that you can do a little bit of everything, I think it's more useful than getting a kick-ass, amazing, badass writer that can write some funny tweets only.
Okay. So diversity in your work.
Yeah, diversity in your work and try your hand. So it's much more useful for someone who's judging the portfolio to see that you can, let's say I have 8 things on the portfolio, not even that much, but you have a couple of things that are super well rated and a couple other things where like finding interesting film stuff that you made, right? You know what I mean? And it's just show diversity, because what people are looking for on interns is, yes, you want to give them the chance and have them try their hand at different departments in the agency and see what sticks, but also want to make sure you bring someone who's going to be helpful. So the more diversity you show in the breadth of work, and if things have some quality, the more you show that you can be helpful to the agency during your internship.
Now,
and that's how you then stay.
To clarify that, do you want them to show diversity within their specific specialty, or do you want a copywriter to have art direction capabilities as well?
If you want to be our director, focus on that, but don't focus on only doing crazy good comps. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like our director, there's a whole breadth of skills that you would expect from our director and someone that you were studying. You should really open, your aperture and try your hand on stuff.
Gabriel, love it there. So you broke in that first internship. Did that go into a full-time job, or how did it?
Not there. From there, I went to an independent agency that doesn't exist anymore in São Paulo, but it was my dream agency called AGE, who was one of the coolest agencies in Brazil and kind of in the world at that point. And I got an internship there, which was, again, my dream. I worked really, really hard for, 6 months there. Got promoted, so became a junior writer. And now I'm like second year in college or something like that. I'm pretty young. And studying and working so many hours, so I wasn't sitting.
You're a junior copywriter and going to college.
Oh yeah, all at the same time. And I'm not saying this is the right way to do it or not. It's just the way I did it. And it was interesting because I got promoted, or I got the job, right? I became a junior writer there, and I paralyzed. I was so fucking afraid of failing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I think I did a decent job there, but not as good as I was expecting, probably as they were expecting. I got fired 9 months after I got promoted.
Dude, you're 19 years old. Like, it's okay though. I feel like
totally.
Yeah,
totally. But I like the story because I learned so much from that. From like you get what you want, and then you're like, oh fuck, I shouldn't do this now. Yeah. And again, this is many years ago, so the culture is different. The way in which agencies worked was different. The environment was different. I think agencies, it's always a lot of work, a lot of energy. But you would see things years ago that they don't happen anymore.
Like overworked stuff,
and maybe bosses who were not as respectful or caring as they
got yelled at a couple of times.
Yeah, yelled at. It's not even yelled at, but it's a level of scrutiny and pressure that doesn't have to be this way. I learned in my career, especially after I moved to the US, that you can do really, really strong work and work really hard, but in a smart way, in a way that it doesn't preclude that you're going to be, 20 hours a day every day. That was my reality when I started, in Brazil back in the day. And for the most part, I think this is gone.
Wow. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. So how do you bounce back from that? So you're 19, you get fired from your dream agency. You can give up, you can pivot into
Yeah.
On the marketing side, you can do many different other tasks or careers. Like, why do you stay in this stuff? Yeah, that experience.
I was really, yeah, I just bounced back. I started calling and trying to show my work to, some of the people that I admired in the industry at that point, in different agencies. And I got lucky. I was then hired by, at the point, YNR, which was the biggest agency in Brazil, um, by the number two in the creative department there, who I didn't know him, but, we got to know each other. He liked my portfolio and kind of took me under his wing. So it was incredible, because then I went to YNR as a junior, writer at a junior team. We were the very, very, very last team in the whole body of, God knows, 25 teams or something like that. But this person was pretty much running the creative department because the ECD there was a CCO, and he was the CCO's partner, and that was the dual running everything. He took me under his wing again and gave me so many opportunities. And then something really cool happened after, a few months working there, not even a year, but I was doing well. I was starting to produce some stuff. I was getting my food, and getting confident and learning. It was really cool. This guy leaves, and he leaves to open his own agency out of nowhere. And then one day he calls me and goes, "I want you to come with me."
Oh, nice.
So now I'm like 21, 22. I became ECD I went from the biggest agency in Brazil as a junior writer to the smallest agency in Brazil as an ECD when I'm 21, which is kind of, but it was like 10 people agency.
It's so fun.
But it was amazing because from the get-go, I started having some leadership challenges.
Yeah.
While I was still honing in my craft, and I learned so much on the experience. I wanted to dedicate for another year or so. Then this agency merged and another one, which was a design agency that had nothing to do with anything that I had never done. So it was interesting as well, because then I started, opening my skill set. And the aperture of doing work with designers as a creative, as a writer, and concepting with designers was really interesting and kind of novel and different from that time. We're talking, this is just a lot of things. So I learned a lot from that as well. Stand for a year there or something like that. And then, that kept going.
Gotcha. I love it. Thank you for sharing that. A lot of lessons there. I hope people get a lot out of that. I know they will. So I want to get into work that worked in your career. Like, tell us about a campaign that really advanced your career, like was pivotal for you to be successful. What comes to mind?
I think I moved to Chicago in 2012 to work at FCB Chicago.
What does that have to do with paint?
It has to do with markers, actually. It's before the paints.
Okay, my bad.
From the paint stuff, but I can talk about the paint one. The paint was a little bit later. But, on my first year there, I was with me and my partner. We were not the most junior team, but like very much at the bottom of the chain there. And I think that creative department had 200 people. So only the creative department was massive. There was so many people. And, we were hungry and we were trying our hand and trying to be useful, trying to be helpful and showing that we could help with any type of client with anything that they needed. And I remember really well, we had Sharpie as one of the brands. And it was, I think it was my first Thanksgiving in the US. So it was like, Thanksgiving was on a Thursday. So on Wednesday, nobody really works, right? Agencies are usually open to meet at the 2 million. Nobody really goes to the agency on a Wednesday before Thanksgiving. And we're like, no, let's go to the agency in the morning. Let's just try some ideas for this Sharpie thing that we have. And it was only us. There was no one there. And I remember we started, find some stuff. And there was this fine point pen marker that the Sharpie had, super fine point one. We started, throwing some ideas at the table. And then we came up with this idea. Then became, was a campaign that was all in the world in 13 or 14. I think it's 13. So we had microscopic images of viruses and bacteria with doodles, and for a fine point marker, and he won the first ever gold line for FCB Chicago ever.
Nice.
And that was my first line.
Yeah.
Well, and this is not that long ago. This is like I said, I think it's 2013. It fucking changed my life.
Really? How so?
Well, they already seen something on us that felt different, or perhaps, special, so to speak. FCB Chicago.
The CCO.
Yeah.
Who was that?
His name is Todd Silford, who's a dear friend. Today he owns an agency nowadays in Texas. Very far that is the agency. Shout out to him. He was very important in my career. And also the CEO, Michael Farshia.
That's great. I've heard amazing things.
Yeah, he's amazing. And he was, even though I was no one, he was open, to our ideas, and we could stop him in the hall and just talk to him about stuff. And
you earn it. I mean, you get the gold line from your idea, and then you can pitch more.
Especially after we won the first ever gold line for FCB Chicago, which nowadays is a machine.
Yes.
The guys have been winning.
That's surprising. I mean, FCB has been around for
120 something years.
And that was 2013.
That was 2013.
Okay.
And it changed my career, because then, it was a little bit of the industry is now valuing those guys and their ideas. So getting promoted and getting more, the remit became wider and wider and wider. I think we jumped on it to our credit and did well.
How did that confidence serve you? Like,
very well.
The pressure of like, okay, I won a gold line, and there's two ways I feel like you can react to that. It's like, I got this in the bag now, like I'm going to push the boundaries. Or the other one is like, I don't know if I could do that again.
Well, but remember, I had got fired not that long before that, after getting a dream gig and out of getting paralyzed. So I already had the experience of I know what doesn't work.
Yeah.
And what doesn't work is being afraid. What does work is respectfully and in a substantial way, like with substance, just prepare even more and go for it. And I think, being in the US was very, very important in that sense, because meritocracy, this culture is built upon meritocracy.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You work not only harder, but I think smarter than other people. Shit happens here, good things happen. And I'm living proof of that. FCB in Chicago first, and then in the FCB in New York, we were always open for my ideas and my way of doing things. And I was always learning. And then I started getting promoted and off and on.
Absolutely. I love that. All right. So I want to know what your superpower is from your today.
And like, I've heard of you on this, because I think it's the same person, but it evolves. It's a little bit different.
I don't know. Let me give you. I feel like David Droga's. I have an interview with him. I feel like his just confidence to sell and to just believe that everything's going to work out.
Uh-huh.
So, what is yours? If you had to pick one, either as a leader or as a creative or both, what has helped you along your way?
I think I learned to be very, very, very clear about why are we doing something and why what we're proposing will work. And I think clarity is something really key when you are fostering relationships with clients, to make sure that you foster a true partnership with them. So being very transparent and very clear on what our agenda is as a creative and as a creative company, and why, they need us and why we need them to be successful. On the relationship with client side, and then conversing when we're talking about, inwards with the ideas and the processes, explaining and being very clear about the expectations of briefing of our piece of work, and then being very mindful on how clear the strategy and the briefing is, and how good or not good the briefing is, and really work with strategists to make sure that we're always as clear as possible, so that when creatives are concepting and everybody's working, nobody's in the dark.
Clarity.
Yeah.
I love it. It's so important. And I'm trying to learn that too in my career. So I'll have to talk with you, get some notes on that. Mount Rushmore. Who's on your Mount Rushmore of agency professionals you love to collaborate with? Let's say they have to be alive.
They have to be alive.
Okay. Just maybe for one project, spec work, nice and easy. Who's your four?
That's put on four. Okay. I will go with, let me think, Susan Hoffman. I don't know her. But I so admire the tenure, the long tenure that she had at White, and I love that she went to other ventures in a way that I think it's so important for the creative industry and the gravity that she brings onto the work that she touches. The other Susan will be Susan Credo, but I did work with Susan Credo for many years. You said should be someone that is not on the, I had never worked with. So, but Susan is a good name if you want to break into advertising and do good stuff. I think David, Droga, I've never worked with him. He did interview me once. He has no idea about it, but he interviewed me once, and I always cherish that, the 20 minutes that I was interviewing with him when I had just arrived in New York in 2016, and I had a chance to talk to him. It was really cool. And I think, sitting down with him and thinking about his own ideas really, really, really special. Who else?
So you got Susan Hoffman, David Droga.
That's a good
first two.
Yeah, that's a good first two already. There's a guy that is a client actually, who was actually a CEO at FCB New York for a while. I did not work with him, called Coffee. He is the CMO at DoorDash.
Yeah.
I always heard so many great things about him, of how poised and smart and wise he is. I just want to know the guy, and my experience, having the best clients as partners is as important as having the best creative and strategy and business people as partners. I cherish so much some of the relationships that I have with my clients and former clients and people that don't work anymore. We did so much with stuff together, and I think the last one would be let's let me think about Spike Jones. Never thought of him.
Good list.
And I think would be fun to do something together. Maybe.
I love it. All right. Last thing here, Gabriel. You're looking back at your career. The best advice you can give to the aspiring advertising professionals, people that want to break in this industry and be successful for the long term, what's the one thing you would tell them?
I'll tell two things. I know I said one, but I'll say two. So the first one is, I don't want to glorify overworking.
Yes.
But I created a rule to myself when I was starting, and I still have that same rule for what it's worth, which is a 20% rule. The rule is I always do 20% more than what people would be expecting you to do. That might be you have to write some social posts.
Yeah.
That might be you have a giant global page worth of $50 million. I always try to go 20% beyond what whoever is expecting it.
I love that. Easy rule.
Right? And nobody needs to know. It's you with yourself, right?
Yeah.
The second thing is, as a creative, while you're trying to go 20% beyond in your craft and whatever it is that you need to do, I think it's very wise for you to try to learn as much as possible from the other disciplines from the get-go. The best creatives in the world. The irony is, the more you grow in your career as a creative and then become creatively, you then also need to become one of the best account people, because you need to foster a relationship with clients. But you are not going to be a very good creative if you don't deeply understand strategy and what's a good strategy and what's the best strategy, and if you can help get to good brief the good strategy with your strategy peers. If you don't understand how data can inform the work on them, or then make the work better, and what's the difference between a data point and an insight, you're never going to be a great creative. And all those things are all around you in your creative companies and your agencies, right? But when you're starting, you're really trying to hone in on your craft to get better at, which it makes total sense. But my advice is just, look around, go talk to people, go understand, and go talk to the more senior people. Do not be afraid. Ask the more senior strategists, why is this a good briefing and why this is not a good briefing? I feel like I don't understand this jumping off point here. Can you clarify why this works or not? In a constructive way. The more you do that, the more complete you get, and the further you go.
Do you think you did that leading up to your first gold line?
Yeah. It was, well, like I said, I tried to start working on this as very early, and that was one of the inclinations I had. I wanted to learn as much as possible from as many people as possible. And as a young creative, I did go from the biggest unit in Brazil to the smallest, which makes no fucking sense. If you think about it, because I wanted to learn other stuff as well. I knew I had a crazy good creative and mentor there. So he would keep pushing my craft, but at the same time, I would have a very unique, a chance, opportunity to learn other leadership skills and some other stuff that I had never been able to do if I had stayed in a big agency from the get-go. So I just try some risky stuff, but give it a try.
I love it. Well, Gabriel, thank you so much for coming on, sharing your story, how you broke into this business, that campaign for Sharpie that really changed your career. I think that's so helpful for all of us. Your Mount Rushmore is amazing too. And I wish you nothing but the best and more lines and FVs and everything else that you guys
for
you all.
Thanks, guys. It's you guys are famous, and I love it. That's so cool that you guys are doing this work in the way you are doing it. It's fresh, so don't conform. Just keep being different.
We're gonna keep rolling with it. I'm gonna keep trying it until we can.
Right on.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate you, sir.